How not to be your parents with your kids. Is that your biggest fear? I hear it every single day in my parenting coaching practice. I just don't want to turn out like my mom. I just don't want to be like my dad. My biggest fear is to become my mom, is to become my dad. If that's your biggest fear, stay, because on this podcast episode, I'm going to share with you, understand why we sound like our parents sometimes, and how to break free from it. You are going to gain a clear understanding of who you need to be and what you need to do to be the secure parent that you want to be for your children. That's what I do every single day in my parenting coaching practice in HIC Parenting. I help parents overcome their reactive patterns so they can parent their children with peace. Welcome to another episode of the Parenting with Understanding podcast. This is your host, Marcela Collier, and today we are going to talk about how not to parent as our parents parented us. And then, if this podcast episode has given you a little glimpse of what you can do differently, at the end, will you share with us a positive review? Or if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, could you please leave us a positive review right now? That will help us so much get to more parents, hopefully 5 stars, so we can reach many, many parents and tell them that they can be free from toxic reactions and raise their children with peace. So let's understand why we sound like our parents sometimes, despite our best efforts to parent differently. When we get triggered, we enter a projection mindset. What does that mean? When we get triggers, many times we are not present. We travel back in the past and then relive things that we lived growing up. And that brings up all the past memories, that brings up all the frustration, and not just the frustration, the hurt, and that makes us react in ways that we don't want to react. So if when we were kids, we were not heard, our opinions were not taken into consideration, our emotions were not validated, when our children don't listen to us after we tell them to brush their teeth 5 times, we feel as unheard as we felt growing up, and that past hurt makes us react. So it's not the Leo behavior itself that our children are having at that moment, is the big projection that we are making about the current situation based on what we lived in the past. So that's the reason why a lot of us keep spinning in reactivity, keep spinning in these cycles that we don't want to be in. So there are 3 types of reactive cycles, and once you understand them, you have a better clarity on how to break from them. Let me walk you through each one of these 3 reactive cycles, and then I'm going to share with you 3 important skills that you need to break out of these cycles. So, the first reactive cycle is the firecracker reaction. The firecracker reaction. So, who is a firecracker parent? A firecracker parent is a parent who they want to do good with the kids, they want to be good parents, but when they feel triggered and they're having those projections that I was telling you about, they react immediately. When they come to coaching, they tell me it almost seems like I cannot stop myself. It just the yell comes out of me, the snap comes out of me, the slap comes out of me. I cannot stop it. I cannot get ahead of me. And then I feel stuck because I keep reacting without thinking. So the firecracker parent is a parent who is in a impulsive, in an impulsive pattern. Why? Because impulsivity helped them survive in the past. When they saw the mama and the dad about to throw the chancla or the flip flop at them, they ran really fast and they hid under the bed. That kind of impulsivity kept them safe growing up. Or when they were fighting with siblings, if they didn't react fast enough, it wasn't going to be good for them. So they grew up with that instinctual reaction right away, right away reaction. That's a firecracker parent. A lot of fathers are in this firecracker response. A lot of moms, a lot of neurodivergent parents who have ADHD or autism with ADHD. I have ADHD and autism, and I don't have impulsivity as part of my diagnosis, but it could be part of the diagnosis. And if that's paired up with past projections, with past wounds, and lack of emotional regulation skills, it makes sense why we go there. So that's the first reactive pattern. The other one is the pressure cooker. A lot of my clients in HIC parenting, they come with this pattern. Why? Because usually the parents who enroll in coaching with us, they've been for a while trying to look for solutions to not be like their parents. So those are usually the ones who are reading books, who are buying self-paced courses, who are consuming social media accounts in the area of parenting. So they have a lot more tools than firecrackers, and they try to apply those tools to not be angry, to not to be calm all the time. They try to apply those scripts and tools that they learn online, and they're like Leo pressure cookers. They speak calmly to the child, but inside they're boiling. They're steaming up, and the steam keeps building up and up and up. But they don't have a valve. They don't have a valve. Eventually, this pressure cooker explodes. Usually, pressure cooker parents, they start the day on a really good note with a really good intention. And as the frustration of the day keeps building up, they're snapping and yelling by bedtime. So, bedtime usually is a struggle for pressure cooker parents, not so much the morning. This is a very common pattern that I see on the clients that we serve in HIC parenting. And they come to us because we help them break free from that reactive pattern. Like Jose, he was one of them. He had a lot of lack of patience. He was firecracker sometimes, but many other times he was a pressure cooker. He tried to apply books, to apply strategies. Nothing was really working, and he was running on fumes. Once he came to coaching with us, he learned how to break free from that pattern. And then he became a lot more patient. And the pressure cooker, instead of building up, he knew and he learned to release his steam throughout the day while remaining safe for his kids. How did he learn all these things? He learned these things in my free class. In my free class first, uh, how to stop toxic reactions, bring peace to your parenting, and parent your children with peace and accountability. And from there, he enrolled as a coaching client, and then we worked for a few months with him. But that class alone gave him a lot of insight of where he needed to start seeing results in his parenting. You can access that free class right now. It's on my website at hicparenting.com, hicparenting.com. If you are watching this podcast episode from YouTube, it's in the description below or somewhere on a card up here. If you are watching snippets of this podcast episode on Instagram or on TikTok, you can find this free class on the link in my bio. Just go to the link in my bio, and that free class is there. So before we move on into the third reactive pattern, I want to show you a little bit of the story of Jose. He allowed me to share his story with you guys. Feel as a father before you started in HIC parenting?
It's only been 10 weeks kind of for the rest of our life, right? So it feels good. And it feels like it's, looking back, I do feel like there has been some immense change. But of course, let's continue to build on that and like not like backslide into old habits.
What was that old habit?
Just like all the things that I just described, like not having a lot of patience for the kids, viewing the kids as like not for kind of really what they were and like kind of really what they're capable of doing. Mm-hmm. Just having more of like an informed and realistic approach as to like their situation and like how old they are and like our daughter just turned 3 and like I said our son's 5.5. So of course coming at each of those kids, you have to take, of course, a different approach, right? It's not a one size fits all for kids of different ages and obviously kids of different, knowledge, skills, and abilities. So, but by and large, and I think Adelina would agree, it's like, our kids are, I would say, very, very well behaved.
I want to ask you this because so that was him. He grew a lot in just 10 weeks by applying the skills that you are going to learn in this free class. And if you want us to help you apply those skills, then we can talk about coaching after it. But go through the free class first and then gain the skills, apply them, and then start changing your parenting. It could happen next week. It could happen in 2 weeks. You can end 4 or 5 years of power struggles by the end of this month. So let's talk about the next reactive pattern, which is the stonewall. A lot of fathers who come to coaching with us, they're here. So stonewall is that they want to support their spouses in parenting. They want to be good parents. They want to be good fathers. They want to be present. They want to do good, but they feel powerless when it comes to discipline, when it comes to breaking sibling fights, when it comes to getting children to put their shoes on and get ready for school or get them in bed. So they feel so powerless that they hand the kids to the co parent, leaving the co parent feeling alone, resentful because she's been with the kids all day and now you're not helping me. And then he sees that and he feels extremely guilty, not just for dropping the kids, but for not supporting the spouse. So these are good fathers who are stuck in a stonewall pattern. It's not that they don't want to be supportive of their spouses, it's that they're shut down because they don't know what to do and they don't want to yell. They don't want to sound like their parents. So that's the stonewall pattern. Let me give you the three skills that will get you out of this. The three skills that will help you get out of your reactive patterns so you stop sounding like your parents and you can start parenting your children with a lot more peace. So, with Jose and the other parents who came to HIC parenting, we developed three essential skills. Skill number one is the skill of emotional regulation. A firecracker is definitely not regulating their emotions. A pressure cooker, they think they are because they're a lot more patient, but they're not regulating their emotions. They are suppressing them, they're stuffing them down, they're holding into their anger and building it up. That's not emotional regulation, that's emotional suppression. So it makes sense why, at the end of the day, they cannot hold it any longer. The stonewallers, they they may seem they're regulating their emotions because they're not yelling reactive, but they are not regulating their emotions because they're definitely shut down. So that's the first skill. Imagine emotional regulation is like placing a little valve on that pressure cooker or placing a little stop button on that firecracker. So emotional regulation is equipping you, You being equipped with the skills of understanding your emotions and learning to live all your emotions in safety. Up until now, possibly if you are in firecracker and pressure cooker and stonewall, you've been trying to not get angry. And that's not emotional suppression, that's emotional gaslighting. You're gaslighting your own self, denying yourself that you are feeling the way you're feeling, and you're trying to convince yourself that you need to be calm. Parents who have emotional regulation skills, they don't deny their feelings. They welcome them all. They welcome when they feel angry, they welcome that anger. When they feel sad, they welcome that sadness. Even when they feel stressed, they welcome that stress. They listen to that stress, anger, sadness, or whatever feeling they're having at that moment, and they know how to manage it and express it in a way that's still safe for their kids. And that's something that we do with these parents in coaching. Number two skill to help you not sound like your parents, not parent like your parents, and be a secure parent is the skill of mindset. So it is not mindset, it is mind sight. This is a concept developed by Dr. Daniel Siegel, and mindsight is basically becoming an expert on your child's needs. What does that mean? What does that mean? Have you ever been in a car with flashing lights, and you know there is something wrong with the car, but you would not know that there is what's happening with the car just by trying to stop the flashing lights. You actually need to get out of the car, open the hood, look inside, and look for the root, what's causing the problem. Most parents, they try to stop the flashing light, which is the behavior. They try to stop the sibling fight. They try to stop the tantrum. They try to stop the hating. They try to stop the biting. When the real answer is getting out of that mentality, go around, open the hood of your child's emotions, dig a little bit deeper underneath those behaviors, revealing the needs and feelings and thoughts that are driving that behavior, and help the children with those instead of just trying to stop the behavior. That's the skill of mindset. Once you don't see a child who's just trying to be rude, but you see a child who's struggling to share, who's struggling to understand what's theirs and what's not theirs, who's struggling to recognize how to play well with others, you will see needs, you will see feelings, and you will see vulnerable children who don't know better. That alone will help you in your firecracker, pressure cooker, and stonewall, because you won't be projecting so much. You will be present and engaged with your kids. And the third skill is the skill of positive discipline. So, positive discipline is not stopping the behavior. It is not. What's the consequence to stop hitting? Again, it's just addressing the flashing light. Positive discipline is equipping our children with the skills so they can do better. When you go under the hood of that car that's broken, and then you look inside and then you see that the problem is that they need an oil change, how do you make that car run again? By trying to slam the gas and hoping for them to run again? No, you need an oil change, right? That's positive discipline, is developing children the skills they need to behave better instead of trying to stop the behavior. That alone will help us get out of pressure cooker reactivity, firecrackers, stonewalls, sounding like our parents, because our parents, all they did was trying to get us to stop doing stuff without considering our needs, our emotions, our thoughts. That will help you be a lot more patient, because instead of thinking about punishment, you will be thinking about skill development. So let's recap how not to be like your parents with your kids. That's a common fear that I see every single day on one-on-one calls with parents. They tell me all day long from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I meet with parents 7 hours every day. And most of them tell me, I just don't want to be like my mom. By recognizing your reactive pattern, stop it by learning new skills, the skills to regulate your emotions, the skills to understand what's going on beneath behaviors and meet your children's needs. And number three, this by learning positive discipline skills to develop skills in your kids instead of trying to reprimand and stop a behavior. That's how you're going to start not sounding like your parents and parent your children with a lot more peace, feeling like you are secure parents. You are a good parent and you can be on your way to become a secure parent who writes a new narrative for your family once you learn to break free from your reactive pattern and learn skills to regulate your emotions and help your children with their needs. If this podcast episode gave you inspiration, transformation, aha moments, stop right now, share it with a friend, and let them know, hey, we don't have to sound like our parents. There is hope. There is hope. There is hope. Watch this podcast episode. It's great. It helped me, and I know it will help you. And remember that it only takes understanding of yourself and of your children's needs to raise secure children. I'll see you next time.